It was a hot and humid afternoon. The air was heavy, as if even breathing had become difficult. Five people, Arav, Tanya, Karan, Mahi, and Ishita, were heading toward that far off town in a jeep, carrying their cameras and microphones. The AC was on inside the car, yet sweat glistened on their foreheads. Outside, dry dust swirled along the road, and the air carried the scent of old rice fields and burnt wood. Amidst the growl of the engine, a faint ringing of bells could sometimes be heard, as though echoing from a temple far, far away. This is the place where the bloom blossoms, Tanya said, smiling at the camera. Arav nodded. If this is real, we'll become kings of the wellness trend. But as the town drew nearer, the atmosphere began to change. The temperature suddenly dropped. The breeze flowing in through the window carried an icy chill, as if someone had pulled down an invisible curtain of frost. When their jeep finally stopped at their town's main square, an uncanny silence surrounded them. No children were playing, no laughter echoed in the streets, only the sound of water dripping from the old tiled roofs, and somewhere in the distance, the faint clattering of bones like a skeleton rattling in the dark. Pause, Tanya whispered softly. Do you all feel someone watching is here?
The sun had already set. Blue and violet shades drifted across the sky, as if a veil of smoke had been spread over it. As they moved deeper into the heart of the town, the air filled with the rotten scent of damp food and earth. Footsteps echoed, clear and distinct, but they weren't their own. It felt as though some invisible shadow was trailing right behind them. Arav switched on the camera and muttered, "There's something unnatural about this silence." Suddenly, a lantern flickered to life at the corner of the alley. Its flame trembled, swaying as though stirred by the heavy breaths of something unseen. Standing beneath that flame was an old man. His face was lined with deep wrinkles, his eyes sunken, and his lips parched as though he hadn't tasted water in months. He spoke softly. You came to see the flower. His voice was so faint, it felt like it slid up from the ground itself and reached their ears. The temperature dropped again. The cold seeped into their very bones. Mahi gathered her courage and asked, "Yes, we are here to make a documentary on it. Does the bloom truly exist?" The old man only smiled, a smile with no teeth, only darkness. He gestured toward a narrow trail leading out of the village. The five exchanged glances. Camera lights clicked on. As they began to follow the path, whispers rose from the bushes on either side, soft, serpentine, like voices speaking from the leaves themselves. And then suddenly, they saw the clearing, a small open patch among the thick shrubs. From the soil, a strange bluish glow radiated. It was the flower, the bloom. Its petals seemed alive, expanding and contracting with every breath as though the plant itself was breathing. A sweet, intoxicating fragrance drifted into the air. The scent was so overwhelming, their minds grew light, dizzy. Tanya, almost entranced, whispered, "It's beautiful." But then, from within the leaves came a faint sobbing sound, as though an invisible person was trapped in the roots of the flower, weeping quietly. The villagers emerged from the bushes, slowly surrounding them. Each one carried a lantern. Its flames trembled, as though stirred by invisible breaths. All around, there was only the crunch of footsteps, the whistle of the wind, and the snapping of dry twigs. The influencers' breathing grew rapid. The red lights on their cameras glowed in the darkness like the eyes of lurking predators. Arav gathered his courage and asked, We, we just came to film the flower. How could that be wrong?" An old woman stepped forward. Her eyes were sunken,
and a crown of dried grass rested on her head. Her voice was cracked, yet every word fell heavy, like stone. The flower never blooms alone. It needs the soil, and the soil needs blood. Every 10 years, a sacrifice is made. Only then does it bloom. Only then do our children live. Mahi's face turned pale. Sacrifice? You mean a human sacrifice? A cold laugh echoed from within the crowd. Someone hissed, "This time, fate itself has brought us guests." The atmosphere grew colder still. Along with the flower's sweet fragrance, the metallic tang of blood now lingered in the air. The influencers saw the roots of the flower were slowly crawling out of the soil, like serpents slithering upward. Ishita whispered, trembling, It's, it's alive." The roots pulsed, throbbing in rhythm with some invisible heartbeat. The villagers began to chant in unison, "Give sacrifice, take life. Give sacrifice, take life." Their voices resonated through the night. The tolling of bells, the faint beat of drums, and the rattle of bones all merged together into one sinister hymn. Karan tried to run, but two villagers grabbed his arms tightly. "No more delay," the old woman muttered. "The flower needs your breath, your blood." And at that moment, the petals of the flower suddenly spread wide. Its bluish glow shifted into a crimson hue, as though blood itself had seeped into its veins.
The villagers' chanting grew louder. "Give sacrifice, take life. Give sacrifice, take life." The air now carried not just fear, but a pounding rhythm. It was as if the entire forest itself had become a beating heart. The influencers were dragged into the old temple that stood in the center of the town. The stone walls were cold, damp, and reeking of decay. From the ceiling hung garlands of dried skulls, swaying with the breeze, clattering faintly. Every breath filled their lungs with the suffocating stench of incense mingled with burnt bone. Arav was tied to a stone altar. Thick ropes cut deep into his wrists. Mahi and Tanya were chained with heavy iron shackles in separate corners. The camera lights were still on, but no longer in anyone's hands. The red beams flickered in the dark as if the flower itself had switched them on. Ishita shivered and whispered, This is all being recorded." The old woman stepped forward. In her wrinkled hand was a black clay bowl, its surface smeared with earth. Smoke curled upward from it, its stench so sharp it burned their lungs. She said, "The flower is never hungry, but when its thirst rises, it demands new life." Karan screamed uncontrollably, "We didn't come here to die. We came here to go viral." Some of the villagers laughed, but their laughter was not human. It was brittle, like the snapping of broken bones. The temple walls reverberated. The old woman began her incantations. The pounding of drums, the clang of bells, the crackling of burnt wood all blended into a deafening roar. The flower's bluish glow had now turned crimson. Its roots spread through the cracks in the temple floor, slithering inward, brushing against the bound influence's legs. Mahi shrieked, "It's pulling us in! It's draining our lives!" Pause. And then one thick root reached Arav's wrist. At its touch, his veins lit up with a glowing blue, as though poison, not blood, was coursing through him. Arav's wrist glowed an eerie blue. A burning sensation spread through his veins like fire. His screams echoed against the temple walls, but outside, only the pounding of drums and the relentless clash of bells could be heard. The flower's petals were slowly unfurling. Inside, it revealed a glowing pit, red, sticky, and breathing. With every breath, the entire temple seemed to contract and expand. The old woman flung the bowl smoke over Arav. Its stench was so poisonous his throat dried instantly and his eyes turned bloodshot. Mahi and Tanya struggled against their chains, but the roots had already begun crawling up their legs.
Ishita cried out in desperation. Somebody help us, please. The villagers answered in one voice. No one is saved. Sacrifice is life. As the flower touched Arav's chest, its petals deepened into a richer crimson. From his mouth came not a scream, but a guttural resonance, as though another soul had seized control of his body. Karan, summoning all his strength, broke free from the ropes and tried to escape. But one thick root shot up from the floor, coiling around his leg. In the next instant, his body was lifted high into the air and then thrust into the open petals of the flower. Silence. In a single moment, his existence was erased. The rest fell quiet. The cameras were still recording. The red lights blinked steadily, capturing every second. Tanya's eyes widened. This means this is all streaming live. But how? How could these cameras in a village cut off from the internet switch on by themselves? The question hung in the air, unanswered. The flower's petals were now fully spread. From its core, a radiant light burst forth. Within it shimmered human shapes, the trapped souls of past sacrifices. The villagers fell to their knees. The bloom has blossomed, life has been prolonged. Arav, Mahi, and Tanya's screams grew faint, fading into hollow whispers. Their eyes went blank, and in the very next moment, their breaths stopped. When the sun rose, the fragrance of the flower drifted outside the temple. The villagers smiled, returning peacefully to their homes. But inside the temple, the camera still rolled. The footage had already uploaded. Millions of views, millions of likes. And beneath it, the caption read, "Welcome to the bloom. The next sacrifice could be you."